So I first want to explain my definition of enlightenment because there are so many different ones. Enlightenment, in my opinion, is about experience. The process of experiencing incredible truths of the universe. Not necessarily absolute truth, just truths different from your truths right now. Once you're on the path to enlightenment, you're going to give up your current understanding of the word truth. You'll find truth is dynamic. Truth is relative. You have to learn a lesser truth before you can learn a greater truth, only to then give up that lesser truth. In this paradigm that we're in right now, egos need to be gradually weakened. So the information I'm giving you will never be true, necessarily, but it will help people realize current truths within themselves and help them get to the next level. That unique feeling of having paradigms shattered. The increasing realization that seemingly everything that you once thought was impossible is actually possible. Mind-blowing realizations and experiences, one after the other. WTF moments. Moments of knowing, not believing, knowing. The most powerful WTF moments are the realization of these truths that somehow you know. New truths that you never thought were possible. Not gaining faith in new truths. In this paradigm, it's all about the weakening of the ego. The dropping of this restricted thought and reason. The ego is the only thing in our current world that is keeping us from the truth. It is our current enemy. You need to realize that science is limited and not nearly as powerful as knowing, as searching and finding that hidden truth within. The path to enlightenment is much, much quicker than science at true understanding of the world. I like to describe enlightenment as the most exciting and fulfilling journey that you could possibly be on, not some end goal. It becomes incredible as soon as you hop on the path. And it's a path you'll find only increases in its incredibleness. You'll find that having your mind truly blown is the greatest experience you could ever possibly imagine. It's actually a truth that holds up across all universes. All universes must have some sort of paradigm at all times. And an incredible pleasure of all those universes is breaking those current paradigms. That was the goal of the truth video I posted. To shatter a paradigm. To give people the incredible feeling of having their mind blown. To make people realize higher truths within themselves. To jumpstart the enlightenment process. That's all that video was. A catalyst for you to use. The path to enlightenment is a surprisingly simple one to hop on. But it goes against all intuition. Throughout life, we seek this external knowledge on subjects in which that knowledge is lacking. That protocol works for every single thing in our current life except for enlightenment. And that's what makes it so tricky. External knowledge has nothing to do with enlightenment. And in fact, when the ego is strong, it only hinders it. Scientific knowledge has made us better understand Earth, but it's gotten us further away from the truth because it made us attached to this enemy called the ego. The one thing that's keeping us from the truth. We actually experienced the truth when we were born. But as this external knowledge seeped in, we gradually got further and further away from it as we grew up in this society. You notice how you felt better when you were a kid. How you had that sense of wonder for the world. Well, that's because your mind was open. The ego was weak. There was this amazing feeling of absorbing these brand new experiences. Now, most of the world is depressed because we have this false sense that we understand the world due to this thing called science. We're no longer experiencing that new of things, relatively speaking. We lost that sense of wonder. We've lost a sense of how incredible and unexplainable the universe is. That sense we had when we were kids. The goal is to get back to where we were, to unlearn. Now, the paradox is that without the ego, without this rigid paradigm that we've learned, there would be no enlightenment process. No moments would be mind-blowing. We'd be experiencing the true universe, but it'd just be bland, like it is now. Not the most incredible journey in the world. But the other part of that paradox is that there's actually an unlimited amount of these rigid paradigms beyond even this universe, and there's no other option than for them to be shattered. We know there's truth. We know that there's untruth. And we know that there's experience. And the only option is for that untruth to turn to truth. It's the only thing we truly know happens across all universes. That there's this paradigm created by this untruth that gets shattered, and we reach the truth. And it's the most incredible experience ever. That's the beauty of the enlightenment process. It must be It's the only process that must be. And you can see that just based on our simple understanding of truth. In fact, the Enlightenment process is all there is. Every experience you'll ever experience, even beyond your life as a human on Earth, is part of some type of Enlightenment process. A learning and then shattering of some paradigm. But the realization that you're in this Enlightenment process is when things get really good. For this paradigm, that's when this thing called suffering ends. And this thing called freedom, true peace, bliss, and happiness actually begins. And that's what the goal is. To have this first basic realization and experience. Your first paradigm shattering moment. A true wound to the ego. And then you're on the path. And the cool thing is, you can't get off the path. You don't need to read about enlightenment to find the path. In fact, I don't recommend reading books strictly on enlightenment itself. Any external knowledge that's created by this thing called language is just this external knowledge that can only hide the truth. Literature can make the ego grow stronger because it has this false idea that it has a better understanding. Literature on this subject always needs to be thinking of as a tool and should be written as such. Literature shouldn't attempt to make you understand the truth. It shouldn't try and implant knowledge into your brain, but only give you the tools to find it within, to make you recognize truths that were already present within. The illusion of understanding is our biggest hindrance to enlightenment, so literature should focus on experience, improving our physical, mental, and spiritual health, to optimize us for experiencing this amazing thing called enlightenment. The only good part about literature strictly on enlightenment is simply making you realize that there is truth to be discovered, a higher truth to be found. To realize that many, many other people, way more than you think, have gotten there. That people have experienced it. Motivation, that's it. This is the reason I make these kind of videos, is for you to realize that there's this higher truth. And how it can have many benefits when you come back and operate as the self. The self is all you know right now. And the promise of a better self is very motivating. What you'll realize is that is the smallest of the reward. The self will seem as insignificant to you as a speck of dust, yet as beautiful as the most scenic waterfall on the planet. The key to teaching enlightenment is not to give this earthly knowledge, but to give keys to optimize the self to be able to experience it. Never trust knowledge that I give you. Never trust any knowledge other than the knowledge that you obtain through experience itself. Never trust anything but your own insight. Reasoning hinders the truth. Voluntary thought gets you further from the truth. Voluntary thought is the ego itself. You can't reach the truth through the ego. What's not truth? The only way to truly know is to experience your true self. You can experience it without one single piece of literature, without any language whatsoever. Language and literature become the enemy when ego is strong. Remember, it's not about learning anything. It's about unlearning. Truth is an experience, a sixth sense, a sense beyond the self, a sense that needs no language to witness. The path is through experience, and I'll try to explain a path to you in the next video. A path of experiences. A path of experiences is the only path that you can trust. You can't trust anything else. Explaining truths that you haven't experienced is like trying to explain the sensation of drinking water to a man who has never drinking water in his life. I could tell you that we are the universe, that all of consciousness is one, that you are the universe that just has its awareness pinpointed on a self, that you have the power to leave your body at any time, that right now you think that you're a leaf. You identify with a leaf, but you're not the leaf. You're the tree. The ego is this artificial intelligence that has caused us to forget that we're the tree. It gives us this illusion of separateness, that somehow all we are is a leaf. But if you haven't actually experienced this, it doesn't mean much. In fact, it makes me sound pretty crazy. And the funny thing is, the truths I told you are barely the next step above our current understanding of the world. And if the ego starts getting tricked into understanding this before it experiences this, well, then you're worse off than before. So again, nothing I just said was true. Nothing I ever say will be true. You only know what is true to you in the moment. Only you can know what enlightenment is.